Big Kansas City. Let's give him a huge standing ovation. Our first speaker, give it up for John Wirtz. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, man.
Awesome, man.
Thanks for the intro.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys. That feels awesome. Well, first of all, I'm really, really honored to get to be a part of this event. The speaker lineup is pretty incredible for today and tomorrow, and so it's a humbling experience for me to get to be a part of that. Thanks, Jeff and Reagan and the crew from SPN for putting this on. I've been to Big Omaha the past few years, since it's right down the road from us. Also a fantastic event. This is my first time at Big Kansas City, but this is exactly what we need in the Midwest to keep us all fired up, keep the ideas brewing, just help us feed off each other's energy. So that's great. This is especially exciting for me because this is my hometown. I'm from Kansas City, and so it's been awesome to get to come back and see the energy here and what's happening in Kansas City. Since I left, I went up to Nebraska for college in 2001. So much has changed, so much has evolved, and at the opening party last night, it was cool just to get to talk to a handful of you guys that are doing awesome stuff right here in KC. I'm super passionate about the Midwest. I'm really passionate about the startup scene in the Midwest and the entrepreneurial scene in the Midwest, and I think this is an amazing place to start a company. Hopefully Hudl is a bit of a testament to that. And so what I want to talk about today in my speech is you're going to hear a lot of people talk about some amazing ideas at this conference. I know you guys have some incredible ideas you're passionate about. The point that I want to make in my talk today is that having a great idea and being passionate about it is part of the battle, and it's a really important part of the battle. But if you want that idea to reach scale, if you want to impact millions of people and really reach your potential and help the Midwest reach its potential, you've got to also think about building amazing companies around those ideas. And it's not one and the same. Building a great company is different than just building a great product. Both are very hard, and when you can bring both together, some really magical, amazing things happen. And so, how many people in the room right now would consider themselves a product person? You're passionate about product ideas. So most of the people in the room are raising their hands, a lot of people. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm the chief product officer at Hudl. I'm definitely more on the product side. I love the idea of creating products. Over the last 8 years at Hudl, I've had to figure out what it means to build a company. And to be honest, it's just as fun, if not more fun, than building products. But it takes some real effort, and hopefully I can give you guys some tips on some ways to think about that. So to start, I want to just rewind a little bit and talk about my story. First of all, I'm from Kansas City, maybe pandering a little bit with Royals, ready to see the Royals dominate tomorrow. I was born in '82, so I was very young during Royals' last heyday in '85. But yeah, I love the Royals, love the Chiefs. I'm also have an amazing family that are pretty much all here in Kansas City that actually got to come out and see me speak. This doesn't happen very often, but my mom and dad, my uncle, Pat are in the crowd. Really supportive family that have helped me get to where I am today. My wife, Ella, who's a fellow Midwest startup founder, also in the crowd. So we love these events, and we love getting to interact with you guys, hopefully, after I get done talking. I went to Blue Springs South. Any Jaguars in the crowd? Yes. I don't ever get to get a reaction on that one during a talk, so this is a rare case. And then I went up to the University of Nebraska for college. I got a great opportunity to go study computer science and business there. And while I was at the University of Nebraska, one of my classmates, a guy named David Graff, worked at the University of Nebraska athletic department and really saw firsthand how archaic a lot of the things were that they were doing to prepare for games for the football team. So, on a weekly basis, we were watching them burn hundreds of DVDs, hand those out to the players, collect them back, with practice film, with scout film on the upcoming opponent, with their games. We watched them print out these huge scouting reports every week, full color, great information, hand it to the players. Most of them put it in their lockers, maybe read a little bit of it. Then they recollected it, threw all the paper in a recycling bin, and did it again next week. And we watched them communicate. A surprising amount of communication back in 2006, 2007 when we were starting was Postit notes on lockers for athletes. That was kind of your main channel of communicating with coaches off the field. So we saw all that, and you guys are probably hearing that and thinking this isn't rocket science. We thought there's a better way for teams to prepare for games. And if this is what Nebraska's doing, and they've got the best tools in the world, and this is the state of the art, we think we can improve it. We had some bravado. We were just graduating from college. We were going to figure this all out. So in January of 2006, we sat down with Coach Callahan, who was the head coach at the time, and the Nebraska football coach's staff. We worked our network, got a meeting with him, and presented this prototype. It's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. Didn't actually work at all unless you clicked exactly through the prototype. Some of you guys might know what I'm talking about when you're pitching a new product. Just really hope you don't click on the wrong thing and it all explodes. But the prototype demonstration went well. The staff was loving it. And Coach Callahan, who had coached at the Raiders out in Silicon Valley in Oakland, said, I've been pitched by tech companies all the time when I was in Oakland, and this is the first time I saw something that actually solved our problems. That was in January. We were all kind of getting giddy around the table. This is exciting. And he's like, we want it for spring ball in March. And we're like, oh my gosh, you have no idea how much smoke and mirrors is actually in this prototype. It's nowhere near ready for prime time. But we talked to Nebraska and we said, if you guys will get behind us and be our first customer, we want to start something up. We've always wanted to start a company. It's me and David and one of my other classmates, Brian Kaiser. We'll build a company around this, and Nebraska will be our first, paying customer. And Nebraska was on board. So that was kind of the beginning of Hudl. We funded Hudl by going to business plan competitions all over the country. So you could say our seed round was essentially like a stack of novelty checks. We got good at carrying these through the airport. It was always kind of awkward, like jamming them through the X-ray machine, but wanted to bring them back and mount them on our little office wall. We were able to make about $70,000 in cash just winning business plan competitions. So that was our seed round, and that got us started. We had a couple interns. We were obviously not paying ourselves, working in a little office with no air conditioning, and we built this product for Nebraska off of that funding. And our goal was really, we want to get Nebraska on board as a paying customer, and then we'll go raise our first round of capital and really get after this. Everything was going great. Nebraska's using the system. People are talking about Hudl. We've got some buzz. But that was it. We had one customer. This is 2 years later. We have one customer. We signed our second customer in the New York Jets. So Coach Callahan left Nebraska, went to the Jets. He actually interviewed with Hudl, used it during his interview with Coach Mangini at the Jets. And Coach Mangini was like, yeah, you're hired. What is that thing that you were using during the interview? Like, I want that for the Jets. So we installed with the Jets. So now we're like, all right, we doubled our customers. This is awesome. But things were just flat. The chart looked kind of like this. The blue graph was what we had pitched our investors on. That's what the business plan looked like, very hockey stick-esque, as all of you guys are probably familiar with. The yellow line down there, you probably can't tell based on the scale, but that goes to 1 in 2007 and 2 in 2008. We were not on the right pace. We were running out of money. We were pretty much out of money in 2008, and we had to figure this thing out. While all that's happening and we're getting kind of the crap kicked out of us, we're getting press in the New York Times. Really exciting. This was in July of 2008. Talking about this new system for the Jets. Everyone's kind of talking about Hudl, but behind the scenes, we were pretty much epically failing, to be honest. But what happened when we got this press was, all of a sudden, we started getting more and more phone calls and emails from high school coaches, from small college coaches that were saying, hey, I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, I have to fundraise for my team, I have to do all these other things for my team, and we have to watch video and prepare for our opponent. So we love what you guys are doing. We want that system. We want that ability to bring our video, our playbook, our scouting reports together, share it to our players online, use this technology. And we kept telling them no over and over again. It's too expensive for you. It requires you to have a server at your facility. This isn't for you. We're selling to the NFL and Division I. And finally, after we said that for about the 200th time, we realized, hey, maybe we're being giant idiots. Maybe this is the market we should be looking at. And we completely pivoted the business. So we adapted the system. We made it all run inside your internet browser. We brought the price point down from around $20,000 or $30,000 a year to $800 a year for a high school. And we started going out and seeing what we could do with this in the high school space. So in 2008, I was our sales and support and part of our product development team, and traveling around the country signing up beta customers. We signed 12 high schools and one small college to use the system in 2008, just to see if this concept we had for Nebraska would work at the high school level. And it was a huge success. We raised some more money from our investment team who were behind us on the concept and just knew we needed to find a new market. And I'm doing kind of the accelerated version of the story. Feel free to fire away in the Q&A session if you want to learn more. But in 2008, we went from 12 to 350 schools in 2009. And I'll say probably 50 of those 350 schools were right here in Kansas City. I came back to Blue Springs South. I came back to Blue Springs. I talked to Olathe North. I talked to all the schools in this area, and they really helped us get on our feet in 2009. So I feel very indebted to this area for our business success. And then you can see the ramp up that happened after that. Just things took off in the high school space. It's been a lot of work. I'm kind of sugarcoating the end of this story a little bit, but once things clicked, we were really able to push the company outside of just high school and college into youth and club sports and individual sports. Now we've got a team of 200 employees. About 150 of those are in Lincoln and Omaha. We're very proud of that. We've got about 50,000 teams that use Hudl, 50 sports across 100-plus countries, over 3 million athletes and coaches that log in and use our systems. We've got this amazing community of coaches and athletes, and I can tell you it's the most fun user base to serve in the world. Nobody coaches because they have to do it. People coach because they're passionate about it. We love working with coaches and athletes. And we've got about 1 billion videos that have been uploaded into Hudl. Last year, pretty much every football game played in the United States, from high school up through NFL, is in our system, analyzed and broken down so that these teams can learn from it and share it. And then one other thing we've really pushed into, and that'll be kind of the end of the story, and I'll move into the next phase of the talk, is as we've built up all this video and these athletes and coaches interacting on our platform, we've found this huge opportunity to really democratize the recruiting process. The way recruiting worked before Hudl was largely, if you had enough money, you'd spend $1,000, a couple $1,000s, hire a company to help you make a highlight video, pay some consultants to help you reach out to colleges and try to really help your son or daughter get the best chance at playing, college sports. Since we've rolled out Hudl and become really the standard in football and now becoming the standard in basketball and volleyball, we've been able to give great highlight tools and great marketing tools, essentially, to every athlete in the country. So it doesn't matter if you're in a rural high school in Missouri or you're in a wealthy high school in LA, you're going to have the same amazing tool set to get recruited, and we're very proud of that, and we've had lots of great stories of athletes getting to play at the next level because Hudl helped them get that exposure. So that's a little bit of Hudl's story. So now bringing it back to what I really want to focus on. And this is a question one of our early advisors asked us about 3 weeks into this whole idea of Hudl, and we pitched that prototype to Coach Callahan. We sat down at a kitchen table at his house. I can remember it vividly. We walked through this product. We had all these product ideas with him, and he just kind of stopped and asked us the question, are you guys in this to build a product? Are you guys in this to build a company? And his statement was essentially, I will advise you either way, but if we're in this to build a company, that's going to take you down a very different path than building a product and maybe flipping it or getting that experience. And so me and my 2 co-founders took some time, really spent the next few days thinking about what that meant, asking these advisors questions, what does it mean to build a company? And we made a decision in 2006, we're in this to build a company. And this may not be the ultimate idea we run with, but we're here to build a company in the Midwest that's big and impactful, and is a great place to work. And that question and thinking about that early on played a huge role in our success as a company. And so that's really what I think I want to challenge you guys with today is whatever idea you've got brewing in your head, if it's you or a team of a few people, or maybe you've got a team of 10 people and you're starting to work through this idea, really make sure you're asking yourself that question, am I in this to build a product? That's okay. There's a lot of people building great products. Are you in this to build a company? So if you are in this to build a company, the next slides here are going to be tips to think about to help you make that happen. And first off, before I get into those tips, I want to talk about how many people are familiar with Eric Ries and kind of the lean startup, build, measure, learn. Great, so a lot of hands going up. What I hear when I talk to a lot of startups is a lot of sophistication around how to build products. And this is a fantastic model to think about. We talk about it at Hudl all the time. Build, measure, learn, and do that as quickly as you can over and over again so that you're seeing if you're building the right thing. I also hear people talking about, lean user experience concepts, design concepts. There's all this sophistication around how to build products, but I don't hear that same amount of sophistication about how to build a company. And it's absolutely critical if you want your product to get off the ground. So what I want to do is apply some of these product principles that connect with me as the chief product officer and a product person to building a company, because I think the concepts are exactly the same. So now 5 tips kind of aimed at product people and idea people and the kind of people like you guys that are going to be at Big Kansas City, getting fired up to help you build companies. First, MVP your board. So for those of you that aren't familiar with MVP in this context, I'm talking about minimum viable product. So what I hear over and over again from startups is they've got a board, maybe, or maybe they don't even have a board. If they have one, the board's purpose is essentially to make sure every quarter they check in, they check the box, I had my board meeting, I think that's what I'm supposed to do as a company, and then they get right back to building product. I think it's a huge mistake to squander your board. And that's why you're at an event like this. What a great opportunity to go meet the people that are going to be on your board. So you're doing the right things, you're at the right events, but think about it as a process just like building product. You've got to MVP it. So for Hudl, Jim McClurg was our first advisor. He's the one that asked us that question that I mentioned earlier, and he was the beginning of our board. And we really were able to role play with him. What does it look like to interact with your board? What does a meeting look like? What do you talk about? Let's not just go through the motions. Let's actually really invest in this. We rehearse our board meetings. We've done it since the very beginning of the company, and Jim really pushed us to do that. We do a dress rehearsal, make sure we're ready to go. As we built out our board with really fantastic people, all of them with Midwest roots, you can do that right here in the Midwest. There's fantastic board members that you can build a world-class board that will rival any Silicon Valley company. Each one that we added, we kept iterating on the way we practice our board meetings. Our latest experiment now is we're PowerPoint free in our board meetings. No PowerPoint, no packet. We send out some information ahead of time, and the board meeting is completely a discussion about what are the biggest problems we're facing and opportunities right now. So always changing the way we meet with our board and treating it as a really, really valuable asset. I can tell you there's no way we would have made it through the pivot we had to make from kind of NFL and Division I focus into high school and this completely new model in sports and software as a service without the help of our board. I really don't know if we would have made it through 2008. My second tip is you've got to engineer your team. And I hear this line from time to time of, I'm talking with a startup, they're kind of struggling a little bit, and it's like, well, we just need to hire a sales guy. That's like the equivalent of I just need to add that feature to my product. I need to snap that. If I throw that button in here and just add this feature, like boom, we're golden. The product is going to click. It's going to work. That doesn't work. More features, more better. I'd say more features, more problems. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about on products. You can't just tack things on. So that goes for engineering your team as well as engineering your product. Every single salesperson you add, when you add your first customer support person, when you change the way you approach the way you're structured, you've got to think about it like you're engineering your product. One question we ask at Hudl a lot is, how is, and then pop in a function of your company, strategic for Hudl? That's an important question. How is it strategic? Not how does it work, what do they need to do tomorrow, but how is it strategic? So for us, our coach support team is a really important part of what we do. We have thousands and thousands of coaches that call into Hudl to get help with our software. We're mission critical during football season, and we've got to be able to help them out. And so every time we do a board meeting and every time we kind of get together on a monthly basis, we ask the person who heads up our support team, tell us again how coach support is strategic for Hudl. And he's constantly working on boiling that down to one or two lines to state, how is this strategic for Hudl? So for those of you out here that are thinking about maybe adding your first sales team member, or maybe moving into sales yourself and helping your company and your idea get off the ground, really think about how is this strategic? And maybe this would help. We ask questions like, how does this role get onboarded? Here's a good example of something we screwed up at Hudl. We spent months and months building this awesome user onboarding system into Hudl. So when a coach signs up for Hudl, they have achievements that they can earn. And as they earn achievements, they earn more video storage in the system. And it walks them through a getting started guide. Lots of engineering, lots of time. We built that over the course of kind of 2008, 2009, 2010. Then we stopped and looked back and said, we have no onboarding system for our team at Hudl. We're spending all this time onboarding our users onto our product, and we're not onboarding our own team into our company. And so we took a step back, put together a whole orientation for our new Hudlies that joined the team to get them fired up on day one, to teach them what they need to know, to make sure they graduate at the end, and it's an exciting ceremony, and they feel like they're a part of the team, and it's made a huge difference on our company as a product. We think about how do they interface with customers? How are they connecting with our product team? How is coach support helping us grow Hudl strategically? And how does it evolve over the next year? I'll give another example here. We have a giant pile of product roadmaps at any given time at Hudl. I'm guessing that goes for a lot of you guys too. You probably have a roadmap you've thought through on your products. Here's where I'm going to take my product. What we did a poor job of early on in Hudl is what was the roadmap for our teams? Where are we taking support? Where are we taking sales? What do they look like a year from now? And if you're doing that on your product, you've got to be doing that for your company. My third, and I'll go pretty quickly through this one because I know you've probably heard it over and over again, but it's that important, is your mission and your values matter. That's the framework for your company. That's your foundation. If that's not strong and you're working on building this amazing product, it's like the equivalent of remodeling your bathroom with a cracking foundation underneath it. It's a waste of your time. And this is something that we were lucky enough to have great mentors that pushed us to do it early on. The other point I'll make is these things should evolve. You're not going to come up with the perfect mission statement or values on day one, and it's okay for even your values to change. They're going to change. So let me just throw you out the kind of embarrassing example of what our mission statement was on our first website. I went back into the Internet Archives, pulled this up because I couldn't remember even what it was. It was address the next generation battlefield of today's sports teams through the latest in information technology. It's just super lame, I think. But at the time, that was as mature as we were, and it was a footing, and it got us started. We've changed that mission and evolved it probably 10 times over the last 8 years. We revisit it all the time. We say it at the beginning of every board meeting. We say it at the beginning of every retreat. Even when it was like 5 people in the room, and we're like, all right, let's go back over our mission. And I'm sure a couple people are like, really? Like, there's 5 of us. Like, I think we get it. But it was important. Now this is our mission. It's on the front of our website. If you go to hudl.com, we help coaches and athletes win. I think it's much better. It's much more concise. Everyone at Hudl knows it, but we would have never gotten here if we didn't start with something in 2006. Here's our values in 2006. You don't need to read through all of them. I'll just point out the second one, which is just super cheesy, embarrassing. Dare to be bold. I don't even know what that means. But in 2006, this felt important. This is what we felt like. This felt like our values, so we started there. We've changed these probably 10 or 20 times over the years. These are our values now. They're not set in stone, but they're very important guides for us. That one second from the bottom, we're respectfully blunt, #real talk. We talk about that at Hudl all the time. No compliment sandwiches, bring the heat, talk about what you're thinking, say what you mean. But you're not going to get there unless you start from day one with your company of putting these things down on paper. And then this is something that's been really important for us recently, this 10-year mission, capture and bring value to every moment in sports. This is kind of our new rally cry that helps us think out into the future. We just put this together about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. I wish we would have put it together much earlier and iterated on it, but we're getting started. I'm sure it's going to change. Number 4, you got to iterate on your company just like you iterate on your products. It's got to evolve, and you got to get uncomfortable. I love that Jason brought up, big part of this conference is helping all of us get more comfortable being uncomfortable. It goes for the way you're approaching your products, taking risks, getting out there, and the way you approach building your company. I'll give one example at Hudl. When I say iterate on your company as a product, first you got to make a hypothesis, make an assumption. One of our big hypotheses at Hudl is everyone sells and supports. Everybody. Developers, support team, sales, obviously. Everyone's out there selling and supporting the product. In the early days, that meant we sent everyone out to the trade shows around the country. Pretty much our whole company packed up and left the office on Thursday, and then everyone came back on Sunday, and we got back to work. We're up to about 200 trade shows that we do a year. And it's not just our sales team, our support team, our developers, our QA team are all out at these trade shows. So that was kind of iteration 1. Then we found it was really hard. The trade shows were great. We got to interact with coaches, but we had a really hard time interacting with athletes. I'll tell you one failed experiment. We set up a table next to Annie Ann's Pretzels at Gateway Mall and thought maybe we could there's teenagers at the mall, we could interact with some athletes at the mall. Huge disaster. We just totally creeped out every teenager at the mall next to Annie Ann's Pretzels. Not good, but it was all about kind of experimenting with it. How does everyone sell and support and meet customers? This worked a lot better. So now we go to all the Nike camps and combines across the country. Granted, it's skewed towards the best athletes in the country, so it's not necessarily the best broad view. But we actually go, and while they're standing in line to do their Powerball toss and run their 40, we just walk up next to them and just talk to them about sports, about what they're doing. Our sales team's there, our support team's there, just chatting with athletes. So, we're constantly iterating on how we do this. And then our latest experiment has been actually sending a chunk of our team out, and we swap with coaches. So now we send a group of, might be one salesperson, one developer, QA team member. We go hang out from Friday to Monday with a football team. We ride to the game on the bus. We ride from the game back on the bus. If they lost, you get to feel just how solemn and just awkward that bus ride back is. We hang out with them in the press box. We're down on the field, watching how they're using Hudl on their iPads and during the game. But it's everybody, and this is kind of how we're iterating on how our company operates. And we wouldn't have gotten to this point without starting somewhere and kind of building up to it. And then the other side of the coach swap is we invite those coaches to come hang out at Hudl. We put desks with our teams for them. They come hang out at Hudl for 3 or 4 days straight. We put them up in a hotel, and they just are embedded with our teams. So it's not a visit. We don't present to them. We don't put on the dog and pony show. They come and eat lunch with us. They go to every meeting with that team, and they just hang out and become an embedded member of that team. And it worked phenomenally. And so we'll be doing more and more of that in the future, like actually swapping with our users and getting our team in front of them. Here's some of the other experiments we've tried at Hudl. I could probably put 3 or 4 slides worth of these experiments on how we've iterated on our company. I'll talk about just a couple of them. Fire squads up at the top. We take each one of our software teams, which is usually 5 or 6 people. They pick up their desk, their PC, their monitors. They go move in with our support team for a week, and they just build stuff for our support and our account management team all week, solve pain points for them. It's all about how we engineer our company and keep those connections strong. Back to the labs, we just stopped what we were doing as a company for 6 weeks and just went into R&D mode. The entire company went into R&D mode for 6 weeks, and out of that came 3 or 4 products that are now cornerstone products for us. Guilds, tribes, squads, these are new ways we've tried organizing our company and our org structure. We've tried no managers, we've tried extra managers. Right now we're doing kind of a hybrid manager, but every manager does work. I'm not sure if it's totally working out yet. It's still unproven, but we're figuring that out. But we have no problem just blowing up our org structure and starting over. And our team knows that, and it's not for everybody, but if you work at Hudl, that's kind of the atmosphere you're going to work in. And then it wouldn't be fair for me to get up and give this talk without talking about the companies that influence us. So my message here is if you're going to iterate on your company, I'm sure you steal tons of ideas all the time for your product. We do at Hudl. Everyone borrows and uses other people's ideas. You should do the same thing for your company. Basecamp, the 37 Signals guys, now Basecamp, Spotify, Zappos. We study, learn from these companies, and just try out the stuff they're doing that's just really cool and sounds like it might work at Hudl. Sometimes it fails epically. Sometimes it works really well and it becomes ours and we mold it. And we read a lot at Hudl. We read a lot of business books. And I know I was totally turned off to business books coming out of college. There's some great ones out there. So I threw together a little Google spreadsheet with all the business books. It's really like a lot of the books that we read at Hudl. We do book groups, just give them out to new hires. These are the books that really inspire us. So feel free to check this out. Hopefully there's some recommendations in there that might connect for you. And then my final point is, that circle is build, measure, and learn. So you can be trying out all these crazy experiments. If you don't measure what you're doing, then you're probably wasting your time and really kind of pissing off your employees, changing everything every day without a clear direction. So measurement at the end is important. At Hudl, we've got dashboards everywhere. This one's on our floor. We have TVs all over the company. They're showing how our support team's doing, how our sales team's doing, how our product is doing. It's about kind of constantly measuring how we're doing and keeping that transparent. We also do retreats. This was our last Vegas retreat where we actually all fit into a hotel room. It was super hot and awkward, and we decided that was the last time we were going to cram into one hotel room. But we all get together in the room, and we talk about what's working, what's not, what's the next experiment we want to do. And we actually carve out an hour or 2 every retreat just to talk about experiments. What experiment do you want to try? We'll just come up with a giant list of them, and then we'll try them. I know one that we want to try here soon is role swap. Just have 2 people trade roles for a couple weeks. Have a project manager go into QA and QA go into project management. It might be terrible. It might be awesome. So those are the kind of things we want to try out. We eat lunch together every day as a company, so a lot of my measuring how things are going is just talking to people at lunch. We send out a lot of surveys. I know it sounds super lame, but it actually is really useful. They're short, usually quick surveys. We survey the company all the time. Here's one I just got back on Monday. We survey every single one of these software development teams on the left. So we have a football team, a mobile team, a core team that are developing tools at Hudl. And we ask them about these different categories across the top. We totally ripped this off from Spotify, completely ripped it off, but it actually has been really, really useful. We ask them, can you influence your work? Are you connected to the mission of the company? Does it resonate with your team? Are you able to innovate? Are you delivering value to our customers? Is it easy for you to ship products and deliver that value? And then we react to this. To be honest, we took a ding on this last one because the football season is tough for us, and there's some struggles. We're going to be working through that. And then we set aggressive goals, and we put them up all around the company, and we celebrate those goals. So when we hit 5,000 schools back in 2010, we all had 5,000 shirts to celebrate that. Went out to a small-town bar in Nebraska, sang some karaoke, and hung out. So that's it. I guess to bring it all back together, you guys are all, I think, a lot of passionate product people in the room. What I want to inspire you to do is think about your company as your ultimate product. because your product is going to change and your company is going to change too. But with that kind of foundation, I think you guys are going to be able to reach your potential. You're going to be able to grow amazing businesses. You're going to be able to do it right here in the Midwest. And this region is going to become the powerhouse region that it can be because we're out there thinking about building big, long-lasting companies that also create great products. But that's not necessarily the focus. So with that, turn it over to Q&A. Thanks for giving me the time to come talk.